run through the fire, I could conquer the night. If I can make it, if I try to draw the red light, I could run through the fire, I could conquer the night. If I can make it, if I try to draw the red light.
Okay guys, so we're off on my now very clean Ducati Panigale V2, and yes, I am squidding. I got on jeans, gloves, helmet, and a t-shirt. Not the best gear, but you know what? It is what it is. I'm a squid today, guys, so go ahead and hate on me. But, you know, I just wanted to do a review of this bike from an owner's perspective, because I've watched a lot of reviews on this bike that are on the track or their first rides. You know, I've had this bike for a while and I'm past the break-in period, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the perspective of what it's like, you know, a good review of this bike as an owner. And I've done walk-arounds and I've talked about this bike a lot in my other videos, but my editing skills have improved, my recording skills and my audio have improved, so I figured I'd go ahead and just try to put together a quick little review of this bike. And I'll start by getting the technical specs out of the way, and I'll go ahead and insert those now. Okay guys, so now that that's out of the way, we're going to do some riding. I'd consider this kind of like in-town riding. We're going to ride around in town, on the highway, and on some twisty back roads. And for this in-town riding, stop and go type, the bike gets hot, obviously. The number one thing you'll probably hear about this bike is it gets hot. The seat gets very toasty and it gets warm on your legs, but the main thing is that seat. You'll be cooking your balls, or if you're a female, you'll be cooking your lady parts, because the seat does get very toasty. But you know what though, it's not unbearable, and it's a sport bike, so you gotta kind of expect it, you know. But other than that, the actual ergonomics of just stop and go riding around town like this, it's super comfortable for me, you know. I'm 5'6", if that means anything to you, but I am so comfy. I have like no pressure on my wrists, really, you know. I'm able just to like hold myself up, and man, it really is comfortable to ride compared to other sport bikes. It's like, for example, say like an R6 or like a Japanese 600, this is probably, in my opinion, more comfortable than all of them, and it has a very nice soft padded seat, you know, right from the factory. Like, I don't have the comfort seat. And if that heat is a problem, there's ways to mitigate it that I might go ahead and give a shot. Like, they say the comfort seat helps, and you could do different heat shielding on the exhaust, because the exhaust is right under the seat, and that's really what causes the bulk of the heat issue. But yeah, you know, it's super comfortable. Like when I ride the R6, the bars are more in, you know. These bars kind of are, you know, like the R6 bars are more in, slanted inward. But these bars, I don't have a lot of pressure on my wrists for a sport bike. And if I move close to the tank, I could sit fairly upright. And that helps a lot with the strain on your neck. I mean, all around, such a great bike. And then when you want to get tucked, you could stick your butt back in the seat, and you could really get tucked down on this thing nicely. Such a great riding position. It's not, I'm in medium throttle setting, which is full power but not as aggressive of a throttle. And it's a little jerky, you know. It's, if you're used to like a Japanese 4-cylinder, like riding around in town like this, like stop and go type of stuff, you know, those are very smooth. Inline 4s are very smooth bikes. But a big chugging twin like this, it gets not very, but it gets a little jerky. Once you get it, it's pretty easy just to cruise at like 30, but not as easy as it would be on an inline 4, to be totally honest. It's got a little jerkiness to it in the throttle, especially when you first start twisting the throttle right at the beginning. There's a little bit of play, and that kind of adds to the jerkiness of it. But once you get yourself rolling, it's not too bad. It's really just that initial getting onto the gas. You got to really be light and gentle with it, unless you're trying to go quick, which, you know, riding around through town like this, I'm assuming you're not. So yeah, it's got some jerkiness. But all in all, for a riding around in town bike, the jerkiness and the heat, honestly, for how comfortable this bike is, I think it's worth dealing with the jerkiness and the heat over dealing with how uncomfortable I am on something like the R6. I would actually rather ride this around town, to be honest. And the R6 and like Japanese inline 4s, that all their power's up high. This has a lot of download torque, so it's pretty easy just to chug along, you know. Whereas like if you're on like a 600, they really want to be revved. They want to be revved up. It's nice and easy to go nice and slow and take it easy on this puppy. I don't mind it one bit for in-town riding. So, yo, check that out, guys. Lamborghini Huracan. Nice. Alright guys, so here we are about to hop on the freeway, and I can tell you from experience that the one thing that's very nice on the freeway is the quick shifter and auto blipper. which are smooth as butter. Sometimes you'll hit a false, sometimes you'll hit neutral on accident, unless you're very deliberate with your shifts. But it's not bad. And other than that, it's smooth as butter. And obviously, this is where you can let the bike spread its legs a little bit. Unfortunately, it looks like there's a lot of traffic today, so I don't know how much exactly I'll be able to do that, but perhaps a little bit. And what's nice about this bike is it has so much torque everywhere in the rev range. Unlike a Japanese 600, you don't need to downshift to make a quick pass, because the bike has so much torque everywhere. You could be in any gear and pretty much, you know, it'll pick up. Let's go ahead and give her some power. The bike is extremely fast. Oh my god, that never gets old. Yeah, baby. And that wasn't even really full throttle too, is the kind of funny part about it. You definitely won't have a shortage of power. Woohoo! And it is so comfortable how you sit, you know? Like I mentioned already, it's so comfortable that you really could just chug along on the highway and cruise. And then you got a nice little opening where, you know, there's no cops, and you tuck and start hitting the throttle, and oh my god, this thing turns into an all-out race machine. So you kind of get the best of both worlds, honestly. Such a great, fun bike to ride, my god. And obviously, you know, you're passing people with absolute ease, just because of the fact that you don't need to downshift ever to make a pass. You know, maybe if you're in like 6th gear going like 50, you might want to downshift. But for example, say you're in like 5th gear going 60. No, you definitely don't need to downshift, and you'll just be obliterating whatever car you're trying to get ahead of. Such a great bike on the highway. And obviously, you know, if you do a lot of highway riding and you want a lot of grunt out of a sport bike, this bike is going to give that to you, because you're going to be hitting ludicrous speeds pretty much immediately as soon as you twist the throttle. And now let's go ahead and hit up some windier roads and talk about what it's like to joyride on some back roads on this bad boy. And you know what? I think that this bike shines on the highway, and I think that this bike shines going through town. But this bike really shines on these back roads, because the suspension, you know, it's stiff. Yeah, I mean, it's a sport bike, it's stiff, but it's dampened in a way that when you hit potholes and whatnot, it doesn't kill you like it does, at least in my opinion, on the R6. This bike, you know, you hit a pothole, it's not going to upset it too badly. It kind of takes it with ease. So, number one, you're not as worried about bad parts of the road. And you got your traction control and all that, so you're not as worried there. And you got your ABS, you know. But you could ride this bike with all of that disabled, and it's gonna perform very well on these back roads, just because of the way the suspension is. in your riding position, my God, you know, you don't even have to tuck. I just, most of the time, unless I'm really, really going hard, which you shouldn't be doing on the street anyway, but let's be honest, you know, we're sport bike riders. Unless I'm going really, really hard, I don't even tuck. Because you're just in, oh my God, I just cannot praise enough how much I love the riding position on this thing. But you know, see, this road right here is really rough. Like, look, I'm purposely hitting these potholes. It's not even bad. It's really not even bad at all, which is pretty impressive. And then, oh my God, the stability you get with, you know, this bike has a low center of gravity to the point where it feels like it just falls over into turns. It's so nimble for its power, my God. It just handles so great. It's so easy to flick this bike around, you know? This bike feels every bit as nimble as a Japanese 600, if not more so, if you guys are looking for something to compare it to. Every bit as nimble. It's just, oh my God, it's so superb. It's just the ultimate riding experience, in my opinion. Like, I cannot praise this bike enough, you know? What Ducati has done, they paid a lot of attention to their middle-class bike riders. Like, this isn't like something ludicrous like the V4, you know? This is like Ducati's mid-tier bike. Yet it has so much freaking technology that you don't get out of any other mid-tier bikes. And the suspension, my God, is incredible. The brakes too. That's another thing. You know, the brakes on this bike are excellent in stock form. So riding around these twisty back roads, you know, those are the thoughts that come to my head. Oh my God, it's just what an incredible bike this is. You know, this is a bike that, obviously, you know, this is a review, but this is also a review from an owner's perspective. If you guys are thinking about buying this bike, I'm going to go ahead and enlighten you on what my experience with it's been so far. And I'm going to tell you, this bike makes me smile more than any bike I've ever ridden in my life. And I don't even have to be going fast, you know? Like, just chugging along like this bike makes me so happy. It's comfortable. It's just, it handles the bumps in the road like nothing. It's so weird. I don't even know how to explain, you know, how Ducati could have done it. But it really does feel like a street bike. It feels like it was meant to be on the street. But the funny thing is, this bike will destroy a track. This bike will make quick work of any track and tear it apart like it's nothing. Which is just, if you're looking for a bike that you're going to be riding on the street and, you know, the occasional track day, and you don't quite want to jump to like a 1000 level, and you know, yeah, this is a little shy of being as powerful as 1000, but don't get it twisted. This bike has tons of power. But if you want a bike that's more powerful than a 600, you know, say you were thinking of a 1000, and it's going to be a bike that you ride all the time on the street and do the occasional track day, man, I would tell you, honest to God, look no further than the Panigale V2, because it'll do it. It'll do it with ease. And it'll probably do it better than, I'd say, almost any bike on the market, if not better than any bike on the market. Ducati has really built something special here. And people talk about maintenance being expensive, and obviously the MSRP being expensive, and people say, hey man, you know, you could get a base model R1 for the price of a V2. So why wouldn't you get the R1 when you could get, you know, the same technology or similar technology and more power? And on top of that, you do pay slightly more for maintenance on a Ducati. And the reason I say slightly is because this is brand new. So my maintenance isn't going to be insane. You know, if you buy an older one, then yeah, you might be paying crazy maintenance. But on a newer Ducati like this, it's not too bad. So why wouldn't you just buy a new leader bike for the same price or a similar price? Honestly, number one, this is so much comfier than any leader bike that I've been on. Number two, it handles easier than they do, and it feels much more nimble than they do. And yet you still have all the technology that they have. And you know, it's little, but yeah, your insurance will actually be cheaper on this than a 1000 if you want to think about that. And just, you know, be totally honest with yourself. You know, there's been very few times owning this V2 that I've had it full throttle. So just take, you know, a deep look into your riding and think about it. Are you ever really going to use a 1000 more? You know, are you ever going to run short of power on the V2 and wish, man, I wish I had an R1? And for 99% of riders, I'm going to go ahead and say that you're probably not. You're probably not going to ever feel like this bike doesn't have enough power. So yeah, you can get a Japanese leader bike for the same price, but to be totally honest with you, I don't necessarily think that that's always the best option. For me personally, yeah, I would take this 10 out of 10 times over a base model R1. Just put it point blank, any day. The mix of comfort and performance that you get with this bike, and then, I mean, honestly, let's be real, it's a Ducati. You know, people notice it, it turns heads, and it's gorgeous. You know, especially that single-sided swing arm. So, when it comes down to it, this is a great bike, and my bike of choice. Hey guys, thanks for checking out my review on the 2020 Ducati Panigale V2. If you liked the video, then go ahead and leave a like and go ahead and subscribe. My current goal is 1,000 subscribers, so if I can hit that, I'll be pretty happy. And let me know in the comments what you thought of my video and where you think I could improve. I'm still working on my editing and everything. I actually have my computer coming in the next 2 weeks. I've been just editing with my phone, so should see some improvement there. But as always, thanks for checking out my video.